Hey friends, welcome to kodEdge. In this session, we will be creating a simple web application and it is going to be a fully serverless application. So let's see the application architecture. It will help you to understand the AWS services that we are going to use in this session and how they are connected with each other. So first we will use the DynamoDB service in which we will create table to persist the data. So DynamoDB is a key value database service and it has a consistent performance at any scale, and we are not required to manage any servers while using it. Next, we will create a Lambda function, which is also a serverless function. And here as well, we does not require to manage any server for the Lambda function. So Lambda function we are going to use for adding or getting data from the DynamoDB table. Here we will require to add an execution role for the Lambda function so that it can write and get data from the DynamoDB table. After that, we will use API gateway to create the RESTful APIs that will allow us to make call to our Lambda function from web browser or from any client. So here API gateway will act as a middle layer between the front end and our serverless backend. Then we will use AWS Amplify to deploy the front end. So here we are using AWS Amplify service because it makes it straightforward to host and deploy the static websites. And end user can access this site using the URL exposed by the AWS Amplify service. So here I am going to keep the front-end example extremely simple so that anyone can easily understand. So let's move on to the hands-on. So in the AWS console, search for the DynamoDB. And here we are going to create a new table that will be product table. So let me give it name as a product, and the partition key will be product code. And let's keep all the values as default, and let's click on the create table. Next, we will create a Lambda function. So let me search for the Lambda. Let's click on the create function. Let's give it a name as a YT Lambda demo, and runtime will be Python 3.12, and let's click on the create function. Okay, so our function is successfully created. Now let's understand the code that we are going to use for the Lambda function. So let me open the editor. So let's understand this code. So first what I'm doing, I'm just importing the libraries. So first library I'm importing as a JSON. Then second is a Boto3, that is a Amazon SDK. Then last is a time to get the current time. So first I'm creating object for the DynamoDB using this Boto3 library. And here I'm passing resource as a DynamoDB. Next I'm creating an object for the table, for which I'm using the object of the DynamoDB that we have created using the Boto3. And for it, we are passing the table name that will be product that we have created in the DynamoDB table, right? Next is a Lambda function. So here we are getting the parameter as a event and the context, and we will receive the request from the front end in the event parameter. Okay. Now from the front end, when we send the request to the backend, I am going to add one key that will be operation. So value for this key will be add product or the list product. And based on this, I am going to make distinguish between the request that we are going to receive from the front end. Okay, so from the event, I am reading the value for the operation, and let's say it is a add product. So based on this, it will call this save product method. Okay, and to this save product method, I am passing the event that we have received from the front end. Else it will go into the get products method. Okay, and this will return the list of products from the DynamoDB, and this save product method will save the product information into the DynamoDB table. Now let's understand the save product method. So what I'm doing here, first I'm taking the current time using this time.getTime method. Then I am just reformatting this time. Next I'm doing the DynamoDB put operation here, and I am using the put underscore item method to store the data in the DynamoDB table. Now DynamoDB table store the value in the form of key value pairs, right? So here I am creating the key that will be a product code, for which I am assigning the value from the event that will be product code, which we will receive from the front end. Next, I am assigning the key that will be price, for which also I am getting the value from the front end. Next, I am creating a key as a created at, for which we are getting time from this time.getTime method. Okay. After that, I am just returning the response to the front end. So here I am assigning status code as a 200 and just returning some body that will be product with product code created at that particular time. Okay. Now let's understand the get products method. So what it is doing, it is just scanning the table to get data from this table that we have created in the DynamoDB, and it will return the all the data from this product table. Now from this response, I am getting the items, and this will be a list of products from the products table. Next, I am just printing for demonstration purpose. Then I am returning this list back to the front end. So here I am making this status code as a 200. Then I am returning this item in the form of JSON. Okay, simple. So let's use this code in the Lambda function. Okay, and let's click on the deploy. Now this code is not going to work because this Lambda function don't have permission to insert or get data from the DynamoDB table, for which we will require to create the execution role for this Lambda function, right? So let's click on this configuration. And here we will require to add the execution role. So currently it has only one role, that is for the Amazon CloudWatch logs. Okay, so let's click on this role name here and click on the add permissions. Click on the create inline policy, and service will be DynamoDB. And what are the operation we want to allow? So we want to allow read operation, that will be scan, because we are using scan in the Lambda function. Then we want to allow write operation, and for which we are using the put item operation, right? So only these two permission we are going to give to this Lambda function. Okay. Next, we want to assign the resource. So let's go into the DynamoDB. Table is created. So click on this name. Click on the additional information and copy this ARN name. And let's go back into the IAM policy and click on the add ARN here and just copy paste that resource ARN. Okay. And click on the add ARN. And let's click on the next. So let's give the name for the policy. So I'm giving name as a Lambda DynamoDB table or DynamoDB role, and click on the create policy. Okay, so our policy is created. Let's go back into the Lambda and just click on this refresh button. Now if you see here, let's click on this drop down, click on the Amazon DynamoDB, and here you can see we are allowing this function to put item and for the scan operation on the table, right? Now let's go into the code. Now we will test our Lambda function. So click on this test, and here we will require to give the event to this Lambda function. So let me give name as a test event, and here we are going to pass some data to our Lambda function, and this data is going to come from the front end, right? So in the same format, we will require to give data to this Lambda function. So first we will give the key as a operation, and value will be add product. Okay, so based on this operation key, this Lambda function is going to add the data into this DynamoDB table. Next key will be product code, and just I am assigning some random product name here, and next will be price for this product. So I'm giving value as 123. Okay, and let's click on the save. Now let's click on this test, and you can see we have received the response, that is product with product code ABC123 created at this particular time. Now let's go into the DynamoDB table and let's click on this explore table items. and you can see our data is inserted into this table. Okay, so our first step is completed. Now next what we will do, we will create the API in the API gateway to call this Lambda function. So just search for the API gateway here. And here we are going to create the test API. So click on the build. Let's give it a name as a YT API. So API endpoint type will be regional. Click on the create API. Create a new resource here. So I'm giving name as a get data. Click on the create resource. Okay, so our API is created with the get data name. Now let's add the method into this get data API. So click on the create method. So method type I'm going to create as a post, and integration type will be Lambda function, right? And make sure that DynamoDB table, then the Lambda function, this API gateway should create in the same region. Okay, so I'm creating this API gateway into this Mumbai region. Lambda function as well I have created in the Mumbai region, and DynamoDB table also I have created in the Mumbai region. Okay, let's search for the function here. Okay, so this is the function that we have created. Click on the create method. Let me close this notification. Okay, so our API is created. Now just click on this test here, and let's pass the request body. So let me copy it from this Lambda function. So this was the event. Okay, just copy it and paste it here, and let's change some values for the product code. So price will be, let's say, 450, and click on the test. Okay, so you can see we are getting the positive response. And if you go into this table, click on the run, you can see product is added. Now we will also test Lambda function to get the list of products from this table. Okay, so let me go into the Lambda function, and here just click on this configure test event, and just change this operation mode to list product. So you can give any name here because we have added if condition only for the add product, and these keys are not required here now. Click on the save, and let's click on the test. Now here you can see the list of products that we are getting from the DynamoDB table. Now next what we will do, so our API gateway is also ready. Next we will create the application in the AWS Amplify. So search for the AWS Amplify. So click on this get started button here, and here we are going to host our web application. Okay, so you can create application in the React or JavaScript. Okay, so here I am going to create the web application in the HTML to keep the demonstration simple. So click on this get started here, and here I am going to deploy this code directly using the zip file. So you can integrate with the GitHub or a Bitbucket or other options that mentioned here, but I'm going to use this deploy without Git provider option. So here you can provide the zip file of your web application. So let's click on the continue, and here just give the name for your application. So here I'm giving name as a YT app, and here you need to deploy your web application zip file. So let me open the HTML that we are going to deploy in this Amplify service. So this is what we are going to deploy in this AWS Amplify service. So here I have created the text field for getting the product code and the price. And next I have created the add product button to add this data. And here we are going to show the list of products that will come from the DynamoDB table. Okay, so let's understand the code for this HTML. So let me open the editor. So this is the code for the HTML. So this will be a very simple code. So let me explain it. So this is the header part of the HTML in which I have given the CSS styling. So this will be a basic CSS styling just for the formatting purpose. Next, understand the body for this HTML. So here what I'm doing, I have just given the label that will be add product, and then I'm creating the form. Okay, so if you see here, I have given this label that is add product, and in the form I am giving this component. So here I am creating a label with the product code. Next I am creating the text field with the product code ID. Then next I am giving label as a price, for which I am creating a text field with the type number, and its ID will be price. Next is a add product button, and when user will click on this add product button, it will call the add product function from the JavaScript. Next is a product list label, that will be header, and here I am creating a table. So if you see in the HTML, this is the table that I am showing in the editor. So here what I am doing, I am just creating a header for the table, in which it will have 3 columns, that will be product code, price, and the created at field. Next it will have body, and this body is going to generate dynamically using JavaScript function. Okay, so this is the HTML part. Now let's understand the JavaScript part. So in the JavaScript, what I'm doing first, I'm calling this fetch products function on the page load. So you can call any function on the page load using this add event listener function. Now let's understand what I'm doing in the fetch products function. So this is our fetch products function. So here I'm creating the request data that we want to send with the request API. So here I'm creating a key that will be operation, and the value will be list product, and this data we are going to send with the API. Next I am doing the API call using the fetch. So this URL will be API gateway URL, then method type will be of the type post. Next is a header section, and next is a body in which I am sending this request data in the JSON format. Then I am getting response from this API. Okay, so this will be response.json. So this will return the list of products. Next I am iterating over this products list using the for each loop. Then I am getting each product from the list, and I am passing this product to this update product table function. So next, understand the update product table function. So here I am getting the element by ID. So this ID is coming from this table body. Okay, so we are generating this table body dynamically. So here I am creating the row, and in the row I am creating the 3 cells, and here I am assigning the value for the 3 cells. So from the product I am getting value for the product code, price, and the created at, and I am assigning this value to these cells. Okay, so as a summary, this fetch products will get the list of products from the DynamoDB using the API from the API gateway. Then I am passing that data to this update product table, and this update product table generating the row dynamically for the table. Now let's understand the next function that I have added on the button click, that will be add product function. So here what I'm doing first, I'm getting the value from the text field, that will be from the product code and the price text field. Then I'm creating the data that we want to send with this API call. So here operation will be add product, and for the product code and the price I'm getting value from this text field. Then I'm calling the API gateway URL here. Method type will be post. Then I'm sending this data in the API body in the JSON format. Then I'm getting response from the API gateway, and then I'm just creating the alert with the response that we have getting from the API gateway. Okay, and next I'm just clearing these text fields. Simple. So next what we will do, we will get this API URL from the API gateway. So let's go into the AWS console. So to get the API URL, we need to deploy this API. But before doing that, just click on this get data and just click on this enable CORS. Select the post here and click on the save. Okay, now click on this deploy API here. Click on the new stage. Let me give name as a dev. Click on the deploy. Okay, so our API is deploy on the dev stage now, and this is the URL we are going to use in the HTML. So let's copy this URL and let's use this URL in the HTML. Here we need to add the API name, that will be get data. So from where this get data is coming from? So if you go here, if you click on the resources, so this is the API that we have created, right? And from this API we are calling the post method. For that purpose we need to append this URL with the get data. So let's copy this URL and use it into this fetch product method as well. Okay, so our HTML is ready now. Now what we will do, we will zip this file and upload it into this AWS Amplify service. So let me zip this file. So let me open the AWS console. Let's go into this AWS Amplify and let's drop this file into this section. So let me give it a name as a YT app and let's click on the save and deploy. Okay, so our deployment is successful. Now just click on this domain URL here. Now here you can see the products that we are getting from the DynamoDB table. Now let's add the new product. So let me give it a name as a some dummy name and price will be, let's say, 850, and click on the add product. So here you can see the alert that product with this product code is created at this particular time. Click on the OK. So if you want to see the updated list, click on this refresh button. Okay, you can see that new product is added successfully in the DynamoDB table. Okay, so you can enhance this application. So here I did the manual refresh for this page to update this list. So what you can do, when you get the response from the DynamoDB after adding the product, you can call that fetch product function from the JavaScript. So when you get the alert, after this alert, you can call this fetch product function and you can update the list. Now let's say if you want to update this application, what you can do, you can again create the zip file with the new update and you can redeploy from this AWS Amplify service. Okay, so that's it for this lecture. Thanks for watching the video.